Hi, good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to Utah Live webinar. I'm so glad to see you all here. By the way, my name is Laila from the Division of Program Promotion. Guys, Chinese New Year is around the corner and the economic fears. All right, so our topic today is Effect of COVID-19, Malaysian Economic Perspective 2021 will be presented by Dr. Yogam Bigai, anak perempuan Ragamurti. Dr. Yogam is an assistant professor from the Faculty of Accountancy and Management, Sunalong campus. All right. Dr. Yogam is expert on health economic, environmental economic, econometric, time series, data analysis, and also panel data analysis. Dr. Yogam graduated from PhD in economic and Master of Economics from University Putra Malaysia and bachelor degree in economics from University Malaya. Guys, after the topic sharing, there is a Q&A session. So if you have any question, please click the Q&A button below the screens and write your question there. All right, due to limited time, we may not be able to answer all of your questions. So the selected question will be answered. Okay, also remember to fill in the Google evaluation form attached. All right, so Zoom is our main platform, and at the same time, we are also live in our official Facebook page, Utah for You. So if you have any friends or family member yet to register in Zoom, do join us at Utah Facebook. All right, without further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Yogam to start. Welcome, Dr. Yogam.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Laila. Let me share with my presentation slide. Give me a second. Today topic is about effect of COVID-19, especially on the Malaysia perspective of 2021. So we have a look the outline of today talk. First, we have a look on the COVID-19 in Malaysia as for the introductions, where it's come from, and then how it's about the conditions and how we go through that for the last year. And we look at the outcome. That means the short surveys done by Department of Statistics Malaysia. So we have a look what are the outcome they're finding during the MCO. So what are the statistics and what are the survey, and then we look at the findings, which is a little bit related to our forecasting for today. And also we have a look on the COVID-19 cases worldwide, and then COVID-19 cases for especially it's for the Malaysia. So by numerically we see the comparison, for example, new cases and then dead cases, how it's look like. And then we have a look what are the government policies, okay, already implemented in the year 2020 for this COVID-19 pandemic. And also this is our main part, which is we are trying to using all the informations that we are trying to predict for the economic condition for the next for this year, especially for the 2021, starting from January until to this December. And we are trying to conclude about the what we are trying to find out from our forecasting, and then we show some of my publications on the forecasting. Okay, so let me started with the COVID-19 in Malaysia. Actually, as everyone know about that, the COVID-19 actually is first case actually reported in Wuhan, China, especially in earlier December in 2019 in China. Basically, it's a come to our to Malaysia on 25th January 2020. It means beginning of the January. Okay. So then we are trying to look at actually is the COVID-19 really given an impact to the Malaysia economics last year, which is both the external factors, especially the global supply and demand shock also, and then the demand factor, okay, not demand factor, domestic factor, especially the movement control order also slightly will be affected, not slightly, it's a much more affected because of a lack of movement control. Is a really given a bad impact to the some of the workers, okay, unskilled workers about this pandemic, okay, because they're unable to go to the work as the normal, and then there is some restrictions on the movements state by states, and then some states they are free from certain month, and then another month will be emphasized on the MCO. So that's actually really affected the economics badly last year. And we also have a look who are the really badly affected, actually the small business and the vulnerable group, which is they are doing a part-time jobs. They are basically mainly affected by this pandemic. And then the movement control actually is everyone, as we know that actually in Malaysia we have started to given the movement control order started in the 18 March. Okay, it's 2020. In next slide we have a look how will be the different phase have a different number of cases on the COVID-19 cases in Malaysia. And definitely because of the MCO, we slow down the economic activities, because we are trying to reducing the movement control of the people, but indirectly actually is a slow down the economic activities in Malaysia. So as my just mentioned just now, we have a look on the phase by phase, because it's started in January and then extended for the second phase, third phase, and fourth phase. And then we have a different type of the MCO, they call as the control movement order and then recovery movement order. So by then we can see actually the beginning, okay, beginning when the case is detected in January until the 15th March. Actually we are indirectly into the first wave of the COVID-19 infection cases. But at that moment we are not implement any what we call MCO. But the number of cases we have a look, and that part means the middle of March we have a look is around 600 plus. Okay, and then the government take action that to reducing these numbers, we have to be given the movement control. Then we are the first phase is started on the 18 March to 31st March. Okay, and then the extensions on the 1st April to 14 April. So this we call as a second wave during the first MCO and the second phase of MCO. At that point we have a look, the cases already reduced from 600 to 400 plus. Okay, so because we want to continuously want to have a lesser number, then they will be have a third and fourth phase of the MCO. Okay, which is a less restricted type of MCO. And then in that time, which is the 15th April to 12th April, actually we going to the third and fourth wave of MCO. That time we still in the second wave of MCO cases. If you look at the numbers, we have around 1,000 plus. Okay, and then because of the economics, the unemployment rate is very high, and then the some of the vulnerable group really affected by this MCO. Then the government tried to given some they want to reduce some restrictions. Then they're converting to the conditional movement order, which is they started from 13 May to 9 June. Okay, which is we call as a second wave of during CMCO. And that point moment, because there is a movement in economic, it shows that the cases up again about around 2,000 plus. Okay, until then they're slowly reducing until somewhere around into the July to August will be have a recovery movement control order, because initially in the May the cases around 200 plus. Then because we are come out with the control movement conditions, then we are trying to slowly reducing to the 1,000 plus. Okay, and this is the actually the restrictions given by the main movement control order from the government. But after that August in the September, October, November, and December, they try to having a movement control order by phase by the states, some of the states. So indirectly that also helped to reduce some of the cases by certain states. Okay, so as in my outline, as I told you that because of the pandemic, the Department of Statistics, they try to do some short survey how will be the economic activities during certain period of time, and then which are the group we really affected. So they will be do some survey the last year, so that will be help for our forecasting. So I want to share with you some of the main finding from this survey. So actually, this survey is carried out during the MCO. If you look at the durations of this survey, is on 10th April to 1st of May. Okay, which is we are entering to the second phase of the MCO. So the majority of the respondents we call as a Bumiputra, which is the 52.2%, and non-Bumiputra will be 47.8%. Okay, and we look at the type of the companies, they are what we call type of the company that they are trying to be what we call doing this survey is the size. Larger companies only take part on 7.2%, but majority are in their micro business, those who are doing some small SMEs. Okay, so these are the people who are really responding to this survey. And then some of the employer and employees, they mentioned that the source of income, okay, basically is coming from sales and the services and non-promise sales, physical shops and others. And from this source of income, we find out that 67.8% company business firms are stated that no sales and revenue during the MCO. But basically, they are mainly their business are focused. They are focused on the sales base. Okay, so their losses, their revenue. Okay, and then for the survival, we have a look that most of the companies, they say that the 53.4% companies, they mentioned that they're only able to survive for 1 or 2 months only. Okay, more than that, actually they are having a severe financial problem. Okay, and also some of the companies, they mentioned that they're using their own company saving to given a salary for the workers and also use as a capital. Okay, and only a minority using the capital injection, which is the 11.3%. Okay, and most of the participants, actually they are starting the work from home, which is 33.5%. And then the some of the issues and the challenges for the company, they highlighted payment do the payment for the salary for the workers. Okay, which is a 76.6, because there is a no business, and then the staff are restricted to do certain job from the home, work from home, but they still have to pay for the salary. So that's the main part highlighted by the companies. And some companies also, they mentioned that, which is a 65.5%, they mentioned that they don't have any customers, no customers. And then some, they mentioned that they do have some rental payment, because no business, because no customers, but they still have to pay for the fixed cost of the rental payment. Okay, and then the two main assistance needed mentioned by the firms are, first they mentioned that the financial or subsidies for the government, and also basically on the tax reduction. Okay, that's a really helpful the small SME. And the estimation duration of company or business to firm to be recovered from this MCO, they, most of them, they mentioned, that means 42.5%, they have mentioned that they need more than 6 months to be recovered from this MCO, this pandemic. Okay, this is a really important part, which is important for our estimation, because we are trying to focus basically on the last year, using the last year data, and then we are trying to focus for the 1 year. So the first 6 months, we want to see how will be the trends look like. Okay, so that's why we are trying to show, I try to show you what the outcome from the survey. So I actually slightly related to our forecasting figure later on. Okay, so worldwide, as per 9th, okay, January, we see that we have the number of cases 799 799,712, the total number of cases. See, totally so much of cases. But if you look at in Malaysia wide, we have the 15,454 cases. But if you look at the trend, definitely for the worldwide, it shows some increasing trend. In Malaysia, even though during the MCO, we can see the slightly lower, okay, that lower cases are reported. However, because of the some restrictions, it's not too restricted movement control order that make some of the later part, it shows the increasing of the COVID-19 cases. Okay, and recently we have around daily cases also try to increase for the Malaysia case. Okay, and if you look at the number of cases, okay, into the Malaysia for daily cases, as per in 11 January, we see that around 2,000 plus. Okay, even though in the beginning of September we have a less cases, but afterwards, and especially December, we will be observed that more cases, that means we are reaching to 4-digit numbers of the infection. And the death case also, we are trying to slowly shows that some increasing pattern, even though there's some MCO, some restriction movement control order is all really help to reducing the death case for the beginning of the May until to the September. But after the September, especially the November onwards, we can see ups and down in the number of death case for the Malaysia. Okay, so next part we will be have a look what are the government policies implemented for the year 2020 for the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, this is the overall packages that the government offer for all. Later I'll be go through one by one with you. The first package is on the package Ransangan Economy 2020, which is actually started in Malaysia on 27th of February 2020. So we try to go one by one. So in here we will be this package actually is these policies they're trying to give in some important mitigating impact of COVID-19, and also they want to give in a recovery on the economic growth and promoting quality investments. Okay, quality investment. So how they do with the how they try to achieve this objective by measuring amount measuring by the support healthcare sectors. They're trying to inject some of the money to the healthcare sectors to move freely with the more resources for them to be covered with the pandemic, and also cash flow assistance for the tourist related sector, because this is the first a sector which is badly affected when they during the first phase of the pandemic. Okay, so basically from who are the beneficiary of this package of the ransangan economic will be the tourist sectors, households, slightly the government given some amount of money for them to be survived, and then SMEs, actually the government trying to promote to the people about the production of on the agro foods productions. They're trying to introduce on the agro sectors to try to promote on their food productions. Okay, and if you look at for the second, actually is trying to they're trying to given out on the 27 March 2020. They call as a Pirihatin. Okay, and the allocations amount is 230 million. Okay, so the main objective to come out with this package of economic simulation package is because of they want to protecting the rakyat, and then supporting the businesses and strengthening the economics. So if you look at that, what are the type of the packages they given for the nations, we call as a Bantuan Prihatin National, and also they given us wage subsidies, automatic 6 months loan, the memorandum, which is you have exclude from the pay for the what we call the loan, especially for the first 6 months, and EPF I Lestari, they can take some amount of money from the EPF account, and cash outs for the government servant and then the pensioners, and FE, they also introduced the SME small scale business on their soft loans and funds, and corporate loan guarantees also they're trying to give. So that means the overall from the pre-helping packages, who are the beneficiary is the household and small SMEs companies, and some from the corporate sectors. And then on April also, the government also trying to introduce another package which is we call as a Prihatin PKS. Is around 10 million. Actually they want to the objective of to introduce this package of economic simulations because they want to help the small business, especially to doing their business. So they're trying to come out with the Prihatin special grant from micro SMEs. They are offering some grant for the SMEs, how they can develop their business, and also they given certain what we call for the corporate sectors for wage subsidy, especially for the additional for those who are companies with the doing the SMEs. Okay, so the beneficiary of this pack, the economic simulations package, are those who are doing the businesses and the SMEs. Okay, and then the next, actually the following what we call the economic simulations package introduced on the 5th of June, around 35 millions. The objective to introducing this package is from the empowerment on the rakyat, and then cross-billing on the business, and then stimulating the economic expansion. So because in the somewhere around June, because we still can see that the MCO still extended for the second wave. So most of the people are they are losing their job at by the time. So the government trying to think of which are the package will be given for them for the survival. So they come out with this Penjana package. So from here we can see that they're also trying to extend the wage subsidy, and then they're trying to come out with some reskill fund for HRDS, and then one of the support vulnerable groups, which are those who are doing the what we call part-time jobs, and also the financial and liquidity supports for the some of the companies, especially they given a more importance on the tourist related company and e-commerce intensive and the tech exemptions measured, because the initial um, survey from the statistics department shows that they really need a tax exemption during this pandemic. So based on this we can see that who are the beneficiary from this Pinjana. Actually we can see that e-wallet users, the government given RM50 for those who are can able to use for the e-wallet users, and then the single mom, and there is some of the disabled people also they are trying to give us some amount of money, and gig economic workers, those who are doing part-time jobs and then contract stuff. So the government also given certain incentive, and also they're trying to introduce for the B14 group, the middle the low income groups, they're trying to given some offer to do the medical checkups. Okay. And also there are another which is this the last package they're trying to offer on 23rd of September. They want to focus more towards on the SMEs and the local workers and people as well. So in here they're trying to give in under the Prihatin special grant for micro SMEs. Actually initially also they given, but this is something brand new. They focus on certain SMEs, and then the second part they also given the wage subsidy also extended, and Bantwan Prihatin 2.0 they're trying to introduce because the initial one 1.0, this one they're trying to introduce 2.0. So the beneficiaries of from this economic simulations package is we call as a B14 group, who are married and single, and also in this package is covering the middle income people, which is the middle income group with the families and singles, and also locals workers in the various field, and then micro trade in the various field. So basically the much more importance given for under this package will be on the SMEs. Okay, because the SME is actually generating more job opportunities for the people, especially those who are in the gig economy. So that's about a rough picture about the introduction of when the pandemic came to Malaysia, and what are the difficulty the peoples were facing during the MCO, and then what are the government package, the what we call the simulating package for the economic recovery and all those things. So when we come out for the second part, which is a core for this talk, which is we will have a look how will be the economic performance for during 2021. Okay. So first we have to know what is the economic forecasting. Forecasting means actually we are doing some process or process to attempt to predict for future conditions of economic using combinations of important indicators. So when we come out the word of indicators means it's up to the researcher. So which are the indicator they want to use to predict for the future economics. Okay, so basically to make it more reliable and understand by everyone, I'm trying to choose certain indicators we call as a consumer price index, CPI, employment, unemployment, export, import, manufacturing sales, and a wholesale and retail sale indicators. Okay, so these are the indicators basically able to represent the roughly on the economic conditions for the year 2021. Okay, so we're taking the monthly data November from the November 2019 to November 2020. Basically when we do the forecasting to be more accurate, normally we prefer to have a long data series. Okay, it can be some they will be preferred to have minimum 10 years, and some they are we call as a minimum 20 years to forecast exactly what can be predict for that by seasonal how we look like. But because of this pandemic is quite new for the world level, so we are trying to take the recent data to do the some forecasting. Okay, so this whole with this study actually we are using a monthly data, and also the source of the data is taken from the Department of Statistics Malaysia. And when we talk about economic forecasting in economics, we have so many methods to can be focused for the economic. However, we are trying in here for this discussion purpose, I taking for the seasonal linear trend forecasting method to discuss the differences. Okay, we do have another one more we call as exponential smoothing method. But when I do the forecasting using that method, which is more preferable by use this method when we have a long time series data. But however, because this is a short term data, so we're using seasonal linear trend forecasting. Okay, so these are the data that the forecast. Before we forecast, we want to see how accurately that particular method can be suited for our estimations. So I'm using two methods, as I said initially, linear trend and seasonal trend. I'm trying to compare. If you look at the here for the CPI, for the yellow color, we can see that the linear trend shows downward. But however, the seasonal trend, they follow the trend exactly same as what we are predicting. So it shows that the actual data means the green color, sorry, the blue color, which is exactly follow the shape of the prediction. So the linear trend actually given a low level of R square, which is only 20%. However, for the seasonal trend is a given a 50% accuracy of our predictions. Okay, so that's why for the CPI we choose seasonal trend for forecasting. And we are comparing for the unemployment we can also using the both linear and seasonal. And if you look at the what we call the R square value, okay, we are trying to do for the seasonal, we have a 57% accuracy. And then the linear trend is only given a 54, even is more closely. But because of we using the trend, because the COVID-19 cases by the monthly, it shows they're up and down by the month. So we are preferred to use the seasonal for this. So we are taking for the seasonal method for the forecasting for the unemployment as well. When we go for the import, okay, if you look at the R square value, is a very low for both method, because there is no variations. That's actually is a causes the R square is a very low for the both method. But anyhow, seasonals given 8% of accuracy. So for that's why we are taking a seasonable trend for estimations for the import as well. And if you look at for the next one, sorry, give me a second. If you look at for the next one, this is for the employment. If you look up for the employment, we can see that the seasonable trend also more preferable, because we have higher R square, which is 34 percentage. Okay. And the next one will be have a look on a manufacturing sales. Manufacturing sales again for the linear trend is giving a low accuracy, which is recorded as a 43% of estimation. However, for the seasonals is given a 77 percentage of accuracy. So for the manufacturing sales, we are taking on the seasonal trend. Okay, and for the export, we see that again as for import, it's given a little bit lower R square, but the seasonal trend actually is given a higher R square value. So for the export, we are taking the seasonal trend as well. So the wholesale again given a low R square, because there is no much variations causes the R square value is very low. However, for the seasonal trend, given just 1% higher, okay, on the what we call on the estimation. So we are taking for the seasonal trend for the wholesale and retail trade. So whenever we do the forecasting, definitely we want to compare which methods given very low R square. So for that, we are trying to compare the R square value, the errors forecasting measures for the seasonal and linear trend. We have a look that basically the seasonal trend we are forecasting using for the CPI, using the seasonal trend is a CPI, employment, export, import, manufacturing, sales, and wholesale and retail trade. However, for the unemployment, the linear trend actually given a lower error. forecasting error. So that's why only for the unemployment we're taking the linear trend to do the forecasting. So by then, you first we have a look at the forecasting using the seasonal trend. We can see that the forecasted value for the November 20 to December 21. So we can see that unemployment keep increasing for the this year. We will be expecting for the increasing trend. Okay, even though it's we are slowly not at the drastic increase, we just estimating with this pandemic slowly some of the sectors will be closed down because they are trying to change a different mode for the coming years. So we are expecting a certain consistent increasing in the unemployment rate. But however, if you look at the employment, because we do forecasting using the last year for this year, because this pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic actually started in Malaysia in the January, but the MCO is implemented in March. So that's why if you look at the March onwards, the trend shows us a decreasing on the unemployment until to the June. And I hope that you also remember that the survey finding they shows that they need minimum 6 months for the recovery. Okay, so that means it makes sense that actually this trend shows that the beginning of the month we are recovering. After that, because currently the government already implement the MCO again, so maybe it's a slightly slow down, but it's take time to be recovering back after June. Okay, so that's why after the June, the unemployment try to show some increasing pattern. And however, for the trade balance, we can see that some inconsistency, because most of the time we can see that we can see some consistent trend over the years. But here, if you look at the export and import, most mentioned that the for do what we have for the last year, we can see that the export more than import. It means our country will be do more export comparing to the importing the goods. Okay, so that's why it's some inconsistency. We can see some ups and downs within these two curves we can observe. So basically we predict that more export compared to the import, because this related to the trade and then involvement of countries from the outside of the country. So any pandemic we see, for example, our neighbor country or some imported country or exported country affected, definitely it's also effect of economic as well. So that's why in the predict the export and import, we can see some inconsistency can observe. For example, if you look at for the August, for example, we are predicting that export can be reached the highest, but we are highest at the 106.5. However, for import only will be reached around 62.1 thousands. Okay, so we can see some variations among these two, import and export, but basically in the common data we can see not much variations can be observed, but the predicted amount we can see some inconsistency. And we look at for the business and sale forecast, we also show some inconsistency, because initially, even though in the November is more or less to close the means for the manufacturing and wholesale trade, we can see some not much differences. But after the January onwards, we can see some of the prediction. The manufacturing will be more comparing to the wholesale and the retail, and it's be much more lower. We can observe around the April onwards. Okay, and then we can see the increasing trend, and it's come to the peak in the October and might be reducing again in the November 2021. Okay, so this prediction also is a depend on the number of cases, okay, of the COVID-19 during that particular month. But this prediction did using the previous year, which is 2020, and then is concurrently related with the a number of cases for that particular month. We will be trying to assume that that will be applied for this coming year. Okay, but medically we can see that some of the articles mentioned that basically the new type of a mutated COVID-19 is a more serious and be more spreadable, compared 10 times spreadable compared to the normal COVID-19. So we are not taking count of that factor for this estimation. So this basically the trend of the last year is captured as for the this year trend. Okay. And then the important indicators for the economics we call is a consumer price index. So for that, the initially for the initially November to December we can sign, which is we already seen a slightly improvement, which is exactly what we are predicted. But we can will be see the slowdown from February until the April, and after May onwards we will be see some increasing trend for the Malaysia case. Okay. So that means the overall performance of what we can conclude for the year 2021. So which is the consistent trends we can see on the employment and unemployment. Basically, the employment falls in the employment until July 2021, and it will be increasing back. But unemployment will be see that there is a certain will be increased again. Okay, because consistently we can see increasing pattern for the unemployment. Okay, because the assumptions that we make here is because some of the company, because they're trying to change their mode from the physical for the online, then they do have a reducing some stuff with the high level skill stuff they needed. Okay, and also we see the wholesale and trade will be observed the drop between January to April 2021 and increase in May 2021 onwards. Okay, and CPI we can see that drop between December 2020 until to the April 2021, but the CPI slowly will be increased May to 2021 onwards. So as what I mentioned earlier, we can see that inconsistency and then the variation is a huge for observe for the import and then export, which is we observe that our predictions say that more import comparing to the more export comparing to the import. So that will be will be have a positive trade balance. And also the mentioning about the manufacturing sales also is inconsistent, because definitely it's depend on the uh, production, and also is related muchly on the movement control order by the Malaysia government. So we cannot predict in which moment they able to do this MCO, and is it might be extended or whatever. So that also another causes we can observe that the inconsistency we observe from the manufacturing sales. Okay. Okay, if you these are my previous study, which is I'm doing a forecasting. Basically, initially I'm also forecasting for the rice industry, which is highly cited for the 39 study, and then also doing some trend estimation for the health related topic, which is hepatitis B. Also, I'm doing certain forecasting, and the most of the month and then year we accurately predict the number of cases, which is cited by the five journals. So that's about my presentation. So do you all have any questions? You can post it on your Q&A chat box.
Okay, there is a one question here. Okay, guys, we are now in the Q&A session. I just would like to remind you all again to fill in the evaluation form at the Google evaluation form at the chat button. Dr. Yogam, we have one question here asking, how does forecasting relate to planning?
Okay, so basically, if you look at the forecasting means, actually the forecasting means like actually we are predicting for the future. When we come to the planning, we are concerned about what it's look like. We want to look like. Okay, we should be look like. So if I say one will be usually started with the planning definitely. Okay, so the planning process actually processing a plan that along with the information that we have, and also input on the forecasting process. As I mentioned, for my prediction also is a depend on the last year data, which is very short term. We call it only 12 month to forecasting for this year. So based on that, we can see some trend within the what we call month, to do some planning. Basically, when we talk about unemployment, employment, so we can do some simulations package for the employability in Malaysia. So by that, we can see that the forecasting is a very important component to do the planning. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, here I can view some of the questions by one of the participant. They're asking that is it important to use up to date data? Okay, so yes, definitely. When we do the forecasting, actually, will be mind have we prefer to have a long series of data or minimum 30 observation. But here I'm doing forecasting with the 12 months. 12 months data series, but because this pandemic is a very new to for the world level, definitely we do certain assumption and some estimation. Based on that only we can predict for the future because it's not happened before. So when we using up-to-date data, we call as a short term. There is a pro and con. If let's say basically if the trend of the infections follow as exactly like last year, then our estimation is can say that is more accuracy. And then if you look at the error that I'm trying to present in just now, also it shows that the minimum level of error. So that means we can see that even though it's a short-term data, we also can able to predict or forecast using up-to-date data for the future. Okay, any other questions?
There is a question from one participant. How
Okay.
should the accuracy of forecasts be compared?
Okay, so basically the accuracy of a forecast we able to, as per researcher, normally will be have a look on the errors. Okay, how we can measuring the error. If we actually we are trying to first we are trying to forecast using the data with the duration of the data they obtain. For example, 10 years or 15 years. For my case, I'm trying to use the 12-month data. So if let's say using the 12-month, we are trying to use the method that we're going to use to forecast within the, for example, January to December, using that to predicting that data. So when we are predicting the data, we are trying to measure some errors. How will be the accuracy? Normally, we'll be have a look on the errors of estimation. If it's a given a very minor error, that means our data prediction is more reliable. Okay, so if the data error is huge, that means it's not accurately we predicted. So most of the time, the accuracy forecast we normally measure using the error that we are estimating. That's all. Any other questions? Any other questions?
There is a one question at the Q&A. Dr. can you?
Give me a second. Good
Yeah.
afternoon. With the MCO 2.1 happen again Independence Day, January 11 for the 14 days. Do you think the economic recovery for the year 2021 will be more slower than we predict? Thank you. Okay. Basically, if you look at our prediction, we estimating based on the previous year data, right? So even some of the my prediction also already captured this, because if you look at the statistic what we call the survey done by the statistics department, they mentioned that they really need a 6 month for the what we call um, recovery period. So most of the my prediction shows that is a slightly slowing going down. That means it but I'm not including the not including the factor that the MCO will be dropping. But when the whenever the government implement the movement control order, definitely is much more make it a slower economic recovery. That means, let's say if let's say I'm estimating, for example, for January maybe 100, because of this NCO we can see that we only can reach around 80. Okay, because the movement control really affected the previous experience of last year. The MCO really affected these, especially SMEs, and then the vulnerable group, which is those who are doing in the gig economics. So definitely is it will be tightly will be related to related to the what we call reducing the economic performance. So basically, we can capture the trend. We are capture the trend means, after if you look at the trend, shows that the April onwards the economy gets slowed down for few months. April to the June. After that, it's a recovering back, right? So if let's say we assume that if let's say this MCO will be extending, similar patterns can be happen For example, the first 4 months will be slow down in the economics, and after 4 months we can see the increasing pattern. So we can predict for that way. We can say that what we call the changes we can observe in that way. So it's take around based on the previous data that we estimate is around it take around 4 months to recovering back. So I do assume that the government not only for implement the MCO for only for the two weeks, but which might be can be extended. So it's a definitely will be do slow down our predictions. Mhm. Any other questions? Okay, with the merge of the called gig economic, do you think that the gig economic will have to reduce the number of unemployment rate? Definitely. Okay, first of all, some of them don't understand what is mean by gig economy. Means gig economy means the people who are doing short-term work or contract workers or part-time workers. Definitely, it will be slightly can be reduce the number of unemployment, but definitely we call as a burdens of unemployment. But if you look at for the long term, but definitely we might have a problem increasing trend as what I'm predicted, because not every year we are not every year, every month, because different university they have a different graduating students. So definitely the old labor force market also is more people is unemployed. So coming with a new batch, definitely we can have a more, we predicting for the no more unemployment rate for the future. Okay, so slightly the gig economic, those who can do some what we call some part-time job and all those things, in basically rather than do the part-time job, they can be explore themselves with the small SMEs, because the simulation package they given a more priority for the small SMEs. Okay, so they can use that opportunity to come out with us doing some small business. We can say that some are reducing the unemployment rate as well. Okay, so this actually we observe from the Thailand cases. We see that number of unemployment rate is a very low, because most of them explore themselves under the SMEs. Any other questions?
There is a question here asking
Okay,
your opinion if
okay.
these COVID-19 cases will be continue for another 1 or 2 years later on. So they just ask for your opinion. What happened to our economy?
Okay, very good question. I really appreciate it. It's a world level. Actually, we are looking at this type of prediction as well. First, we have a two scenario here. The first scenario, if let's say uh, first scenario is a with vaccine, and then second scenario without vaccine. So if let's say with vaccines, that means if let's say more people are vaccinated themselves, then slowly we have a we can say that more confidence that we can explore ourselves for the economic activities as normal. So more people will be involved on their economic activity in the normal conditions. Okay, but even though we have a slow very low type of a risk. Okay, even though because some of the journals they mentioned that even though we're getting the vaccine, but they have a low risk. Okay, but with that means with the vaccines we can say that we can recover very fast. But if let's say without vaccine, and then we still protecting ourselves, we just wearing mask and then do more lot of MCO, and then we can say that very slow down of the economics, and then the recovering take a longer time. That means with the vaccine we can say that the recovering we can have a very fast, but without vaccine we can see that the recovering is take a little bit longer. Okay, but that's we can see with the two scenarios the economics conditions. If let's say the economic be able to accept the vaccine within the 6 months, the government trying to implement, so given the vaccines for the first 6 months we are trying to cover ourselves, the next 6 months we can see that increasing pattern is a predicted as predicted by other country, we can see that some are recovering very fast. If without, we can be recovering as well. We not say not recovering, but we can be recovering, but a little bit slow. And then we have to explore new skills, and then new level of what we call the economic activities. We are now focused more on the online transaction, online marketing, that type of different type of a skill employability maybe in the future. So these two scenarios we can predict it. But definitely in the world level, the most of the researchers predict that the first, that means last year and this year, will be quite slow down in the world level economics. That's why my prediction on the export import is unpredictable, because out of predictable, because it's also depend on the other countries number of cases, because these pandemics are correlated with the most of the countries. And then right now we are closed down the open our door for all the countries to enter. Okay, so that also another factors we can see that ominous results we can observe for the import and export basically. So definitely last year, and we're also predicting for this year very slowdown economic, but this will be much more faster, we estimating after the October onwards. So we can say that next year will be much more better than this year. Yes. Any other questions? Any other questions? I hope that I answer your questions. I can't hear.
Okay, and let me check.
Yeah.
Is there any other question?
Okay.
Okay, there is one here, very simple. He just asked, is it like for education lah? He is asking about the education. Is there like effect or not? Like let's say, he said, if this pandemic still ongoing, is it affect a part of economy? Is it affect the education or not?
Okay. If you look at for the education sector, definitely looking the primary, secondary, and we talk about university. Definitely, primary, secondary is much more affected, because they are trying to changing their mode, especially with this the highest numbers of cases. They're trying to change it for the online assessment. And if you look at for the secondary and primary school, they really need to face-to-face teaching environment for survival. Okay, but definitely we have to be adapted with the new method for this education system, definitely for primary and secondary. However, it's a slightly different from the university and college students, because we can run the online, okay, online classes and assessments for the students. Okay, so basically when come for the education wise, primary secondary may be slightly affected if they say they are not adapting to the new method of the study. But for the universities and colleges, I don't think so this industry, the education industry, is affected. Actually is goes on as what we are experienced from the last year until now. We experience the classes are running in online, the assessment also running in online. So the per semester also we can observe that students are do enroll every semester, so no problem, especially when it comes to the tertiary educations. But the primary, secondary, yes, they have to be adapted with the new method of the study. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think that's all for, yeah, that's all. There's no other question.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Yogam, for the sharing session.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Guys, before we end, allow me to introduce you to the program which is offered by this Faculty of Accountancy Management in Utah Sungai Long campus. Basically, we have 4 degree program under this faculty, which is a Bachelor of Accounting, Bachelor of Building and Property Management, Bachelor of Economics, Global Economic, and also Bachelor of International Business. All this program is a 3 years duration, except for the Bachelor of Accounting, 4 years duration. All right. This faculty also not only undergraduate, they also offer several master program for postgraduate, which is related to business, related to real estate, such as we have this Master of Business Admin, and also we have like a Master of Real Estate Development. All right, student may choose to continue this master after they completed their degree program. All right, so those who are interested to apply to this program, you may put in application for our next intake, which is our next intake we have on the January intake, May intake, and also October intake. All right. The commencement date for the foundation, because those after SPM, student may join our foundation first before you enroll to the undergraduate degree program. So the commencement date, upcoming intake will be on 18 January, same as for undergraduate and also postgraduate. For the May intake will be commenced on the 31st of May for foundation, and then for undergraduate will be on 7th of June, and for postgraduate will be on 17th of May. Whereas for postgraduate by research, we open throughout the year. All right, guys, our next webinar will be held on 22nd of January 2020, same time, 4 to 5 p.m. And the topic is the miracle of COVID-19 and impact on business transformation. All right, last but not least, today webinar will be recorded at our official Facebook, Utah for You. So for further inquiries, you may contact us through WeChat, WhatsApp at this number 016-223-557, at also 018-911-2100. WeChat at UtahNet, and also you can log into the website study.utah.edu.my, and also you can email to us at inquiry@utah.edu.my. All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. See you next time. Okay, stay safe, stay at home, and take care. Thank you. Have a nice day.